All members, I welcome you to this next C and C++ aptitude preparation workshop. And today we are going to discuss C++ questions. So here is the question one. Let's write the header files, hash include IO stream, then is the main function. And here I write return 0, as well I write using namespace std. So here is the class. So let's say the class name is flight class, and that flight class provided some declarations: private integer flight code, character flight name, then is in float type fuel capacity, and in integer distance covered. So there are four variables. Now what is the question? Write a function, write friend function to check from three records of flight, which flight covered max distance, using conditional operator. Return a flight object matching condition criteria. Now here, what is friend function? So friend function access private members of a class, but friend function is not a member of class. So we write that function outside the class here. Let's say that compare is a function name which accepts the three flights, the flight 1, after that flight 2, and after that flight 3. So there are three different flights. Okay, and we first set the values to three flights. Now how to set the values? User is going to enter the flight details. Okay, so take data from user and set the flight details. Now how to take the flight details? So you can write here cin f1 dot flight code, again you write cin, or to the same line also you can take the input. Okay, to the same line, if you write cin here and complete the code, flight name, fuel capacity, and then distance. So when you are appearing for any aptitude online programming round, then there you don't write any labels, enter flight code, enter flight name, just take the plain input. So this is the first flight, and I show you how it works. Let me show you. If I print /n, here I print the data, I print f1 dot flight code /t, f1 dot flight name /t, f1 dot fuel capacity, and /t, f1 dot distance. So this function is not a member of class. So this function actually accessing the private members. Now how to declare this function as a friend function? So in that class you declare this function, but begin with friend keyword. Let's save this code. We will save this inside the workshop folder here, and it is day 4. Let's create another folder. It is day 4. So day 4 we save this as question1.c++. Now here I click compile and check, is there any problems, errors? So yes, it is showing you errors. It's showing you flight name was not declared in this scope. So flight name is a variable and it is showing you error as it's not declared because I'm not using any object. So here you must write f1 dot flight name. Here also you write f1 dot fuel capacity and f1 dot distance. Now it's correct. Compile. Now let's check the output. If I execute, it's not showing me anything because I'm not calling that function. So how to call this function? So just copy the name of function, call this inside a main, and here you pass objects of flight class. Now how to pass the objects of flight class? Create objects flight f1, f2 and f3. They are the three objects. Okay, so here we pass that three objects f1, f2 and f3. Many ways to solve this program. This is I'm showing you the very simplest way. So I compile and execute this code. So it is asking you some details. So flight code, flight name, flight fuel capacity, and then the distance covered. So it is showing you all the details. Okay. So this is the first input of a flight. Let's get one more input of a flight. Let's take one more input of a flight. So I just erase this line, and here instead of that, you get another input of a flight. Changes are flight 2, flight 2. Here is the second record. Now go for third record, flight 3. So once you complete the input, then the function should return you the which flight is actually covered the max distance, but using conditional operator. So conditional operator is using question mark colon, you can solve the question. Let's say a very simple, if I ask you A is 20 and B is 3. So A is 20 and B is 3. And if I ask you which is max, so what you do is you write A greater than B, A max. Otherwise you write else B is max. But instead of that, if you write answer is equal to A greater than B, question mark A, colon B. So this is the short syntax. Only in a single line you can sort out the problem. Okay, instead of if else. But how it works? So the syntax of this conditional operator is you first write condition, give question mark, and this colon, the left part of this colon, always you write the true statements, and the right part of this colon you write the false statements. This side you write false statements. So that's why I here type the condition is before question mark. The colon left part I write A because A is max, and in false case B is max. So this is, you have one small example, and now I'll show you how it works with our case. So if I type condition as f1 dot distance is greater than f2 dot distance, if it is f2 dot distance question mark, then I check one more condition like this, and f1 dot distance is greater than f3 dot distance. F3 dot distance means the first flight is uh, covering the max distance. Then before this question, before this colons, the left part of the colon, I write f1 means the first flight. If it is not, then I check a one more condition, f2 dot distance. F2 dot distance covers if greater than f1 dot distance. F1 dot distance, and you can write to the next line as well, no problem, like this. F2 dot distance is greater than f3 dot distance, then I write a condition, and here I write f2, otherwise f3. So this is the conditional operator, and here I create flight answer is equal to flight answer is equal to. So what I'm checking is the first flight, if if covering the distance more than f2 and f3, then my answer is f1. Otherwise, check f2 is covering more than f1 or f3, then my answer is f2. Otherwise, my answer is f3. And finally, here I write return a answer, the object I return from function. So now that's why the return type should be the class name flight, and the data whatever you are receiving here, you write a flight type, uh, the flight you are getting here, which is covering the max distance. Now here you show that data. Now how to show? You write show max distance flight, show max distance flight, and here you write answer object. Now this show max distance flight is the one function I define it here. It's a void function and it accepts a flight object x. So here I show the flight detail slash n. I first print two slashes and then I print my output. So here I print x dot flight code slash t, x dot flight name slash t, x dot fuel capacity slash t, x dot distance. So some changes in my function. So I again declare this as a friend function here. After that, another one more function is accessing the private members. So I copy this and this also I declare here as a friend function. So friend function meaning is it access private protected members of class. So friend function not matters the access modifier. I save this code. Let's compile and check the output. So we first input the three flights and then it will compare which flight covers max distance. So 101 is the flight name SpiceJet. Then is the fuel capacity is 350. The covering distance is 1000. 102 is Air India. Then is the fuel capacity 250, covering 1200 kilometers. 103 is one more flight. It's Star Airlines. Fuel capacity is 300 and covering 800 distance. So it is showing you 102 Air India 250 1200. It is your answer output. I hope you understood how to work with class object and friend function. So in the same question, I also covered how to pass object to function, how to return object from function. So this is the logic to solve the question. Now we'll go ahead. Here the another question is question number 2. So let's write header file hash include IO stream. Then we write main function and then we write here return 0. After that I write here using namespace std, and let's create a one more class. Now the class name is manual, and in that class created a one public function. The public function what it is, void submit is a one function. Void submit is a one function. Another is void uh, remark is a one another function. Okay, so there are two functions, and you ask the here that is title I complete here, uh, create class manual, define functions of class outside class scope using scope resolution operator, using scope resolution operator. Show message manual submitted successfully using submit function, and write remark, write remark, uh, submission done, submission done using remark function. So this is a very easy question. Only you asked to write the scope resolution function outside the class scope. Now how to use the scope resolution operator? You can write the syntax is first you write the class name. Before that, actually you write return type. Then you use scope resolution operator. Then write function name. And then if any arguments, you write arguments, and then complete the definition part. So this is the syntax. So what I here write is the return type is void, class name is manual, scope resolution operator submit, and calling this you asked to print the message manual submitted successfully. I copy this. Here I just write this message. Another one function is remark is the one another function remark. And how to write this function? First write here the manual scope resolution operator remark, again the cout and slash n, the message is submission done. Okay, so how to call this function? So to call this function you must need an object of a class, and manual is a class. I create object m1. M1 is dot calling submit, and m1 is calling remark method. That's it. Okay, so this question is actually why I started, because question number 3 I want to explain you in brief with a challenging logic. This is I explained because I just want to let you know what is scope resolution operator, how to define the functions outside the class. Let's compile and run the code. So here you are showing the message submitted successful and submission done. Perfect. So this is very easy question now. Now we will discuss the next one question here as question 3. Let me write the question title. I created a class. First we write hash include IOStream. Then I write main function, and then I write return 0. Okay. Here we write using namespace std. So here given class called first. In that you given a private variable called count. Another one class called second. Here you given a private variable integer count. So they are two different classes. Okay, they are two different classes. And here is the one another variable which is public integer, static integer, static integer last, or n, static integer n. And outside the class here I'm typing integer first scope resolution n is equal to 100. Scope resolution n is equal to 100. It is a static variable. So here I write one more variable similar, static integer n, static integer n, and outside here I type integer second scope resolution n is equal to 200. So they are two different values. Okay, so what you have to try here is uh, some steps given here. The step one is create object of class first and second. Second step is set count value, set count value input from user, and start counting numbers up to n, up to n. Step number 3 is check that count of first and count of second should not be same. In case they are same, then reset values to 1 and start counting again. Step number 4 is create array, create two different arrays from counting up to n containing only numbers which are not divisible by 5 and divisible by 3, not divisible by 5 and not divisible by 3. Okay, so here you are generating array which contains array records, dynamic array records. So it will contain only the numbers which are divisible by 5 and 3. Okay, and the final steps comes is step number 5. Show which array having more prime numbers. So now some sample inputs I give you. Sample input. Let's say if you start with 4, so this will up to n it will end, right? So the 4 is for the first count. Okay, so it will create behind the scene array up to n. The second one is if you type, let's say 9, so it will start at 9 and end at 200. The 4 will start and end at 100. 9 will start and end at 200. But it's also running a loop to check which numbers are divisible by 5, which numbers are not divisible by 5 and not divisible by 3 in the range of 4 to n and in the range of 9 to n. It creates array, and once you're done, then in that array you're going to check which array contains max prime numbers. But here is the challenge you given is the class definitions. Integer count variable is a private. Okay, so in the example I'm going to start, we will discuss many object oriented features. In a same program we will cover many object oriented features. Okay, so first the task starts with creating the object of class first and second. So how to create object? You write here the first class object as f and second class object as s. The next is ask user to input the values, but how to input the values and how to set the value for the count. So here you call set count as a function, set count, and pass there the value of f. So set count is a function. I write this here, set count, and I am getting the object of first, but I use this ampersand reference object because the changes whatever I make in the argument, it should affect the parameters. So I write scene first dot count, first dot count. Okay, first dot count like this. So user enter here the first value. Now this function, now this function is a void function, and I copy this. Okay, and I declare this as a friend function. So now user can set value to count. Done. Set value to count. So this is the first one. Other one I write set count once again, but I pass s. S is the second. Copy paste the same function and just change, instead of first I write second. So this concept is called as the function overloading. Okay, the same name function, if you write, then this concept is called as function overloading. Now the function overloading feature as well as friend function, both I implemented, both I implemented in the same example. Okay, it should be here only because it's the first. Similarly, you copy this and write in a second one class here. It begin it with friend keyword like this. Okay, so we will save this question number 3.c++. Now what is next? Once we created the first end object, set count value input from user and start counting numbers up to n. Okay, so start counting numbers up to n. Check that count of first and count of second should not be same. In case they are same, then reset values to 1 and start counting again. So here we write start counting function. Start counting is a function. We pass f and s both, and now here I write another function start counting. It accepts the first object f, second object s. So how to start count? Now check the difference. How to check the difference? I write if the first count starts at, let's say, 4 and second count starts at 9. So difference between the 4 and 100 and the difference between the 9 and 200, it should not match. So we will first find the difference. So I take a one variable integer, first difference, f difference is equal to, I write first dot or first scope resolution n minus first dot count. I'm getting this here, and I also write a one more code. First difference, first difference. I'm getting the first difference. Now here is the second difference. Second difference is equal to second scope resolution. The n is a last value. The up to n, I'm going to write a loop. So second dot count, I'm getting these two. Now what we write is if second difference, we write like this, integer main difference or difference only is equal to, we write second difference minus first difference, and after that I write if difference comes less than 0, if difference comes less than 0, then I write difference is equal to difference into minus 1. So we multiply it with minus 1 to make it plus value, and then here I print the difference. Here I print the difference. Okay, so the first difference and the second difference, they should not be same. Actually, this is the question. Okay, 1 minute. Here I'm going wrong. So how to check this? If uh, first difference, first DIFF is equal to second difference, if they are same, then what? If they are same, then the statement is reset values to 1. So what you write is the first difference, the first count and second count you reset to 1. Okay, otherwise you can proceed. They should not be same. This is the title. So we write here address. Okay, so the changes in argument it will affect the parameters. So this is the reference argument. So this is how you can write your statement. Now the step 3 is also done, and start counting. Create two different array from counting up to n containing only numbers which are not divisible by 5 and 3, which are not divisible by 5 and 3. Okay, so here we write a loop for now. This is the setup. After setup we will create array. So I'm calling this function start counting, and it is a void function. So this function is again friend function because it's accessing the count variable. And now this function we must write in both classes. I write here friend function. Now let me copy this and write down to another here one first one class also, like this. And also I need to declare a class second here because I'm using this class second in the first class, so I must need to declare this. Save. Now what is next? Create array. So another one function is create array. So counting is done. I'm moving ahead. I call create array function. So I pass first and second both. So we will create the both arrays. I'm typing here void create array. So accept the first object, then accept the second object. Now what is next? How to create array, and the array should be dynamic. So I write a loop I from f dot count up to I less than or equal to first scope resolution n and I plus plus. So this is the first loop. Okay, and here we are starting the count from 4 to 100. But I want to collect here the numbers which are divisible, not divisible by 5. So I mod 5 not equal to 0, as well as I mod 5, I mod 5, I mod 3 not equal to 0. Both the number which is not divisible by this both, I don't want these numbers. So that only I collect in array variable. So now how to declare array and how to collect this? So to create array, uh, we have two choice. Either we here implement the data structure list, or either we here just create a one sample array, and we will consider something the n size, and then that only numbers we can collect. So what will be the best choice? So the best choice will be you create a list. How to create the list? So to create the list, you need to here create a one more class, and then only you can create a list. So what is the class name? List is the class name. How to declare this? We write public number. So yesterday I already covered how to create list. So I'm going ahead. So this is list star. Next is the one object. Okay. And what is next? Next is we write here the first one reference. The first one reference list. We declare some variables. Current one list. First one and list follow pointer one, because we are creating working on two different objects, right? So we need the two sets of objects. So current one, first one, follow pointer one. By defaultly they are null. By defaultly they are null. So now what you have to do is you write here current one is equal to, you write new list like this. And after that you write if the first one is equal to null, then first one and that follow pointer one, it should be pointing to current, and other case you can write else part, and here you write the follow pointer one of next should be current, and after that you write the follow pointer comes to current reference, and after that you write the current pointing to the number you store value of I, and the current next should be null. Current next should be null. So this is the code I expect. So it should be current one. Here it should be current one. Here it should be current one, like this. So the data is ready. Now what is next? You collected the array records. The array is ready. You print this array value. First of all, you print these array values. How to print these array values? Create a one more object, temporary one, temporary, only temporary. Okay, temporary one. By default it is also null. Now after this loop, i'm going to write I'm going to write temporary one is equal to first one, and we write a loop. Cout. First I print the array values slash t. I print temporary pointing to that number, and if the temporary one meets the null value, is next. If if not equal to null or equal to null, then break the loop. Otherwise it will go ahead. The temporary is equal to temporary one. Next, done. So this is the code. Okay, the first one array is created. Similarly, you create a one more set of this code to generate a one more array. Now I'm repeating the code or not. Okay, so this repetition we can avoid calling a one more another function, but just for this program we will create another set of variable. Okay, instead of another function I'm using the different set of variable. So it should be for second count is starting here, is list again, current 2, 2, it is 2, it is 2, it should be 2. Here is a one mistake, should be 1, 2. After that I write it is 2, then it is current 2, it is also 2, and it is also 2. Okay, now go ahead to print the second record. This is 2. Okay, done. Save this. Now declare this function as a here we declare this function. Here also you are using the private variables, so you declare this here as a friend. Copy this and write down here. Okay, so in Aptitude exams also they ask you such very challenging questions, so there you go step by step. Okay, and your code will run. Up to this I hope everything worked fine as I expected. The only remaining is the show prime numbers that we will continue checking the output. So I compile this code. It is showing me one error here, that is start counting was not declared. The spelling mistake. Start counting. I variable not declared. F ptr 1 is equal to current 1. Next, n is capital. Silly mistakes. Here also I am not declared. It is 2. This is capital N. Done. Now how to run this code? See the sequence. You are setting the counts, starting the counts, then the array created. Run this code. So the start count is 51, and another start count is 101. So it is showing me the two arrays. Let me separate them typing /n. So here we write /n. The loop starts here. Here we keep a first /n. We just write endl. Copy this, and here we write the second one. Okay, now let's try. run this, check this. It is from 1 and it is from 101. So this is started from 1 to 98 and this is started from 1 to 199 because the difference between 1 to 100 and difference between 101 and 200 is same. That's why it started from 1. Okay. So now if you check the difference one more, that is if I start this as 12 and the another one is 119, now the difference are different. That's why it started at 13 and it started at 119. It should start at 12. It started at 12. It is starting correctly. Okay, okay. Actually, the 12 is divisible maybe by 3. That's why. So here it is the code. Now we are going to find that which numbers are prime. So just we are going to handle the prime code only, and that will be our final answer. Okay. So here I write a one last function, that is for the prime numbers. Before printing this, we also check is it a prime number. So here we write one last code is prime function. So let's check what it is asking. Show which array having more prime numbers. Show which array having more prime numbers. So also we need to count which array having more prime numbers. So I'm typing here is prime as a function name. It accepts a number and it is checking is the prime number or not. So we write a code for from integer d is equal to 1 up to d less than or equal to that number. D is equal to 1, d less than or equal to that number, d plus plus. And here I write a code if number modulo d is equal to 0, then you count that particular counter. Here is a counter is equal to 0, and in case of the counter comes to, then only I say it is a prime number. So I return a 1, else I return a 0. Meaning is if it is prime then it is true. If it is not prime then it is false. The return type is integer. Now I'm calling this function here. When I print this data, I also check one condition. The entered number is a prime or not. If is prime in the bracket temporary one number, if it is true, then only I do count 1. So here we declare a one variable array1 prime count, comma array2 prime count. So they are the two variables. So by default, we keep these both variables as 0. And now I here write if it is, then array1 prime count plus plus. I'm checking is it prime or not. So copy this and paste it here. While you printing the another array, you paste it here. And this is array2 prime count. So finally, you can print your answer here as if array1 prime count is greater than array2 prime count, then you print output uh, array1 has max prime numbers. Else, if array1 prime count is equal to array2 prime count, array2 prime count, then what? See out array1 and array2 has same prime numbers. And then the next is else part, print array2 has max. So this is the code complete answer. Save this. Now this function I declare top of the main function here. Okay. So only in a one program I covered print function, scope resolution operator, private variables, overloading of function, list, data structure, prime number, logic, and this is the complete code. Now we check output. See this, if I'm starting this with 20 and the another one if I'm starting with 150, so this is creating the two different arrays, and it is showing you array 1 has max prime numbers. Okay, like this. So this is how you can run your programs. So this is the complete logic. The length is almost 207 lines. Now, how to compress these lines? I have this answer, but I will tell it later. I think maximum you can write maximum you need to write 20 lines. In 20 lines only you can complete this code maximum. Here this program, the first 20 lines I just created a class, but some different logics are there also. I already told many ways to solve this program. Okay, so this way we can do some codes to solve the requirements. I hope you understood. Now, the C++ topic is a completely object oriented, and in object oriented there are many features. First feature is the class object. Second one is the encapsulation, means how you create the scope of variables, when you write private, when you write public. Third feature is the inheritance. Fourth feature is the polymorphism, and fifth feature is the abstraction. Even there are many features like constructor, destructor, friend function, scope resolution operator, static variables, templates, vectors, so many features in C++. So the APT programming rounds, they ask you some of such programs in the programming rounds. Okay. Now for more detailed questions, I send you some template files, and reading that you can understand, you can prepare yourself with more tough logic. And I hope you enjoyed my 4 sessions. I covered different programming tools, the features of object oriented coding, algorithms in data structures, foundation of C, and logic. Even if you have any more requirements in such programming apti preparation, then you can call me or WhatsApp me. We will arrange such more different workshops, and through that you can learn many things. So I wish you all the best and keep learning. If you have any questions, you ask me.